we go. Hello, hello. I'm Noah the Otter, a retro variety Otter VTuber on Twitch, and a media analyst on YouTube. I mostly do video essay content on YouTube, talking about different neurodivergent representation in movies, TV shows, and video games, which we'll be discussing today. I call myself an Ot with autism on Twitch because I am an Otter VTuber, of course, and it's sort of a way for me to advocate for it and help people understand autism in my own special way. Because it's still something that I think a lot of people are trying to understand and gain awareness on. So I refer to myself as an Ot with autism, sort of as a play on words to help people understand that. A bit about me in particular. I am a YouTube partner who makes media analysis videos, like I said. I've done over about 50 videos now on autism in particular and representation in film. Some of the particular topics I've done are discussing representation in kids media, such as shows that are coming out on PBS Kids now discussing different autistic coded characters and also characters that are explicitly stated to be autistic in media now, which I think is great. I really love to see that kids get to be introduced at a young age. I am also a Twitch VTuber, like I said. I mostly play retro games. I play everything from like NES up to PS3, 360, because that's retro now, and we're all old, unfortunately. Yeah, exactly. That's my thoughts. I do advocate for autism and mental health quite a bit. That's something I talk about a lot in my channel. I was diagnosed about 15 years ago now, so I've had plenty of time to kind of I've had plenty of time to reflect on what autism means for me, and I try to advocate using my experiences with other people too as a result, because I've had plenty of time to kind of think about what it means for me in particular. And let me play my Twitch intro here for y'all before I forget.
Hey, you there! Do you like retro games? Hey, you there! Do you like retro games? Do you like otters? Do you like neurodivergence awareness? Do you like silly voices, like this, like a Mickey Mouse? Why don't you come into the Rat Plays, partner? And here, I play all kinds of retro games, on retro hardware mostly too. I've played everything from NES up to PlayStation 3, which I do consider retro, yes. You're old, and so am I. My community, the River Pups, is very inclusive and includes folks from all walks of life. If you're a weary Twitch traveler and just want a place to relax and kick back and enjoy the vibe, this would be exactly the spot. We have a lot of good discussions here on autism, since I am an Ot with autism and very open about my neurodivergency. I'm a very big advocate for that as well. So if you enjoy your stay on the Black Pearl, consider following and joining the River Pups today. We'd love to have you.
There we go. So that's my Twitch channel. You can follow that if you'd like to see all retro gaming content in general. I play most stuff on original hardware too, because that's the best way to do it in my opinion. So a bit about the spectrum for those who may not know. Autism is a neurological condition that does cause the person who has it to kind of view the world in a different light, more so than neurotypical people, which is the term given to people that aren't autistic or aren't on the spectrum. It definitely has a very big range, being a spectrum. So a lot of people can either be like nonverbal and use other methods of communication to get their ideas out there and explain their needs. Like a lot of nonverbal people will actually kind of be more responsive to like senses, like sound and sight and smell, more so than like just talking. I am high functioning, of course, so I talk perfectly fine. And I can communicate mostly fine overall. Although there are definitely times when I get overstimulated. That is when I tend to not communicate as well overall. I kind of don't like considering autism like a superpower per se, because I would rather autistic people be considered just people as well, and sort of just seen as equals with like neurotypical people. Because I think when you try to call autistic people like special or like gifted, it can occasionally kind of give off like a sort of separating vibe, and I try not to refer to it on Twitch as I kind of just try to make everyone feel even, because that's important to me. Because autistic people are still people, and they're just functioning on a different mindset than neurotypical people. One character that I actually think in retro gaming is a great reflection of this is Tails from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise.
Totally agree.
Absolutely, Tails is definitely autistic coded. It's great. Tails was often hyper-fixated on like machinery or technology, and other things a lot of Mobians didn't have much interest in. It depends on the canon you look at, but a lot of different Sonic canons seem to kind of go back to the same roots for Tails, that he was sort of like a loner and fixated a lot on like machinery or tech, and didn't really have a lot of friends and was bullied a lot too. And he was often made fun of for having two tails, which is something that kind of set him apart from other Mobians. And he felt pretty alone until he met Sonic, who he thought was someone who was different like him, and the rest is gaming history. A lot of people have actually seen kind of say Sonic is ADHD coded, which is interesting to me. I don't know how I totally feel about that, but I definitely see Tails as autistic coded for sure. I think he is a great example of that. And I do want to share a little bit of my video on.
So recently,
Kid
PBS
shows
Kids
because
announced
of
that
that.
next month
Show
they'll be
exactly
airing
what
their
I mean.
first ever cartoon starring an explicitly autistic main character called Carl the Collector, starring an autistic raccoon named Carl who likes collecting things in jars and struggles with anxiety and social situations, just like many people on the spectrum. In the past 5 years or so, children's television has been introducing more and more autistic characters into their stories, which to me is really, really nice to see, since as a child there weren't really any explicitly autistic characters in media at all for me, and there were only a handful of autistic coded characters out there. But now society has progressed to the point where there's enough awareness out there about neurodivergency and mental health to allow for explicitly stated autistic characters to show up in kids' media. This is a really great thing in my opinion, since it allows both neurodivergent and neurotypical kids growing up today to get a good representation of autism on television for them. And this is really helped by the fact a lot of these characters are actually written by real autistic people. So today I want to take a look at a few of these characters that I think are exceptional and discuss what makes them such great representations. Before we begin, be sure to like this video. Subscribe if you haven't
to
already.
the part I wanted to talk about here. There's a specific part. Yeah, this exactly. Right here.
Again, another show that I wasn't aware of because this is a newer kids show, but it also has a very good autistic rep from what I've seen and what I've been recommended. I'm talking about Hero Elementary, and specifically the character of AJ Gadgets on that show. From what I have gathered and what I've seen, Hero Elementary is a newer PBS kids show that is about 4 diverse different kids superheroes who all have different superpowers. One of them is AJ Gadgets, who can project his thoughts for others to see, and he often saves the day with like MacGyver-type contraptions. And interestingly enough, he is explicitly stated to be autistic. Like, they actually say this on the show. This is so cool for me to see, because as a kid, I never would have seen a character that is explicitly stated to be autistic. But so many kids shows now are doing that, and honestly it makes me really, really happy. Today's kids really deserve to grow up with stuff like this, so I'm so glad it's so much more common, especially on like educational networks like PBS Kids. It's really nice to see that it's just more discussed in general in media now. Once again, AJ himself is explicitly said to be autistic, and he shows many signs of this in general, like hearing loud noises and getting overwhelmed, which is something I relate to a lot. Definitely different textures he does not like wet clothes, and he does flap his hands around when he's distressed or anxious. One of the nicest things about this, though, once again, is that this is not treated like something that makes him different from anyone else, or something that makes him need to be ostracized from others. Everyone here treats him just like a normal person, and it's really, really nice and really cool to see this discussed in a kid show like this. Again, I am just really glad that more kid shows are talking about this in general. And here, AJ is just one of the other kids, and they all accept him for that, and that's really beautiful. Now, to close out this video,
There we go. So yeah, that's definitely something I didn't always see, I think, as a kid for myself. It was mostly autistic coded characters, like someone like Tails from Sonic, who I do view as that. And I think it's really just now more so that we're seeing like explicitly stated autistic characters in kids media, which is great, because like I said there, it's really good for like both neurotypical and neurodivergent kids to be introduced at a young age with a kind of either way, get an understanding of it. For neurotypical people, it's good for them to kind of understand that early on, so they can learn to accept other neurodivergent people. And for actual neurodivergent kids, it's great for them to learn to accept that part of them, I think, early on. And learn it's just a part of them overall. It's great. So for me and other people, finding unity in retro gaming, that's actually why I wanted to bring this panel to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Because to me, the retro gaming is actually, it's still a relatively niche medium. It's more popular now because gaming in general is the biggest entertainment industry ever, eclipsing both like the music and movie industry. But the retro gaming itself is still sort of a niche. And I know a lot of other autistic people that I've actually met through the retro gaming community, as a lot of autistic people do hyperfixate on retro gaming in particular, and have for a long time, even before it got popular. So that's definitely where I've actually met a lot of other autistic people. And I think it's great for autistic individuals overall, like myself, to be able to kind of converse and relate to other people that are on the spectrum and have similar interests in different retro games, different franchises. I think it's a really cool thing for sure. And definitely like the last few years of like coming to Twitch or YouTube, I met a lot of other autistic people in the spectrum and other people that share similar like interests to me or just similar struggles overall being neurodivergent. And I think that's really good overall for other neurodivergent people to kind of be able to connect with other neurodivergent folks, because usually neurodivergent gets neurodivergent, I would say. And it's a very distinct connection that you don't always get anywhere else, I would say. Then down here, I wanted to talk about masking, because this is something I think is more, there's more awareness on this now, but masking is when autistic folks will kind of try to like bottle up those hyperfixations or interests, or just part of their autistic selves overall, and not really want to share with other neurotypical people. And that actually is a very unhealthy thing, because if you mask yourself, especially as an autistic person, it causes a lot of like autistic burnout, a lot of tiredness for sure, a lot of fatigue, and I'm definitely guilty of doing that in the past myself, so I have personal experience doing with this. A lot of like just moodiness can occur too, just different things like that. So it's really important not to mask actually as an autistic person. Masking is when autistic folks, just want to be able to feel like they fit in with other other people around them. So they might just try to keep that kind of autistic part of themselves to themselves. And it's definitely not the best when they do that. So a lot of my goal on Twitch and YouTube is kind of advocate to other autistic people and help them learn not to mask themselves and not keep that part of themselves away. That's really important. And I wanted to share this particular example of masking that I think is really good. How many of y'all have seen Steins Gate, the anime? There we go. One person. Thank you.
I've seen
Two
some
people.
of it.
There we go. Huh?
I've seen some of it, but not the whole thing.
All right. It's my favorite anime ever made, actually. I fucking love it. It's so good. Let's see. Let me open this up.
Okabe Renchiru is a master of masking. The main character of the anime Steins Gate puts on a facade as a mad scientist every chance he can get to hide his personal insecurities and fears that he may lose the ones that he loves the most. Neurodivergent people, myself included, have done this in the past, where we mask parts of ourselves to neurotypical people, since we fear they might not be accepted by them. Okabe is one of the best representations of this fear in media, as he so accurately portrays those fears that many of us have about being accepted by the outside world. Okabe has many peers that choose to befriend him, however, because...
There, yeah. So that's actually a really good example of masking in media, in my opinion. This show came out in 2011 also, and actually was a video game initially. It was a retro, well, I guess now it'd be retro. It was a visual novel produced by 5P Plus, which is a pretty renowned Japanese video game visual novel developer. They made like Chaos Hand and stuff like that. Steins Gate is their most popular though, because it got an anime adaptation. I think Okabe is one of the best examples of masking, and definitely showing the issues and trauma that can come with that. Because for those who have seen the show, like he goes through a lot of like really dark, really traumatic stuff in that show. And a lot of it is because he's masking himself and keeping that part of himself away, and it's causing all that anxiety, all that pressure on him. And that's, I think, probably one of the best representations of that in media overall, not to be completely honest. And in conclusion, like I said before, I don't think autism is something to mask at all, just to accept about yourself. And autistic people should be just treated as other people and feel good about who they are, just neurodivergence and all, and be okay being who they are. And I think retro gaming and retro gaming communities are a really great way for autistic adults and just autistic people in general to feel okay being themselves. You're not like everyone else, and that's what makes you, you. And that's really important to accept about yourself. When I first came to like retro gaming communities on Twitch and YouTube, I definitely had a lot of insecurities about myself and would mask those autistic parts of myself quite a bit. But after coming to Twitch, YouTube, and meeting a lot of other autistic people, it sort of started to click in more of that part of me isn't really something I want to lock away and just be happy being myself. And it's been really nice for sure overall, being in the retro gaming space and meeting a lot of other neurodivergent individuals and people who just love retro gaming overall, like all of you. And it's my mission to help people find that voice as well. So that's definitely something that's really, really important to me. And that's kind of my mission with like Twitch and YouTube, to get that advocacy out there and just help people understand autism and neurodivergency and mental health too, overall as a whole. Any questions? Yep.
What do you think draws people on the spectrum to retro gaming?
I think it's just that love for like old technology you just don't see anymore. And that's something I've definitely talked to with a lot of other autistic people. For me, I don't really play many modern games because it feels like the same thing over and over, like the same like big budget cinematic experience. With retro gaming, there's just so much creativity with a lot of older titles, especially like 90s games, which is a lot of what I grew up with. Also, even like in the 2000s, like PS2, GameCube, virtual Xbox, Dreamcast, you don't see any of those kinds of games anymore. Just that unfiltered, really unleashed creativity. And a lot of other autistic people, like myself, really like to express our creativity in sort of those passions and desires. And I think a lot of us see that in retro gaming too. So I think that's a big part of it. Yeah, you?
First.
You can go first. I'll go to you after.
Well, I was just gonna ask, why did you pick an otter specifically for your Sona?
Otters are actually my favorite animals, and I like otters a lot because they're very smart and very creative. And they're some of the only animals to use tools because they'll break open, clams with rocks and stuff. But they'll also tie themselves down with kelp when they're sleeping to not float away, which is pretty cute. You had a question too?
Yeah, sort of a question. Also, just sharing some thoughts. Like one time I started thinking about making a list of like, fictitious characters, particularly in video games and even, well, you mentioned anime, called characters in games in an anime that I suspect have autism. And some of them, right now the three I can definitely think of include Cloud Strife and Squall Leonhardt from respectively Final Fantasy 7 and 8 because of their difficulty in relating to other people and their very muted, very muted external expressions or.
That, I could actually kind of see that, because Cloud especially, he has that identity crisis, and he takes Zack's memories. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't played Final Fantasy VII.
But also Squall, just how quiet and just unapproachable he is, and how he just has a lot of internal monologuing.
Squall, I could kind of see it too a little bit.
And it was just funny. I was playing Final Fantasy VII when I was younger, and then I was thinking, okay, I've not been through this. I've not been through what this guy has gone through, but something about this feels familiar. And especially when Sid starts talking, I always thought there was something kind of strange about how he spoke or something. And now the third example I can think of, a much darker example, have you ever seen the anime movie Jinro?
I have not, no.
Yeah. Well, Jinro is a creation of Mamoru Oshii's, a guy responsible for the Ghost in the Shell anime movie, and
Yeah, one of my favorites for sure.
Pat Labor, and Angel's Egg.
That's awesome.
But well, actually, it wasn't directed by him. He wrote it. Anyway, there's this character in there named Kazuki Fusei who is part of this special police force in a totalitarian version of Japan. Which, imagine if a SWAT team looked like the Hellgast from Killzone, but scarier.
Interesting.
And well, anyway, the main character is extremely quiet. He barely speaks throughout the whole movie, and it just has a tendency to sit there with stand there with a blank expression when people are talking to him.
I think there's, I think that, I haven't seen that movie, so I'm not sure. I think with Cloud, though, and Swell a little bit, I didn't even really think about that, but they do share some of those qualities as well, like those neurodivergent qualities, because you're right, like Cloud especially is definitely masking, because he takes Zach's, personality and just kind of embodies it to try, actually, yeah, exactly what I said before, to try and fit in with everyone else. And then, by the end, he learns not to do that and learns what the right thing to really do there is just be himself. So I think, especially there, that's true. Thanks. That might be a video now. Thank you for that.
Yes. Can you give me some credit?
Absolutely.
My
Sure.
name is John Michael Souza.
Will do. There we go.
All right. And check out Jinro.
Sounds good. I will.
Just to add to that, I think there could be some interesting analysis there on a lot of classic games with silent protagonists who do strange things. For example, look at original NES Legend of Zelda or Super Nintendo Legend of Zelda. You've got Link as the silent protagonist who runs around doing things for people and collects gems for some reason.
Yeah, true. He does have a hyperfixation on rupees. You're right. You're right.
What about like Shin Megami
For sure.
Tensei characters?
That's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, I need to play SMT. I do want to add on to that. I think you could argue a lot of the characters in Earthbound, maybe a lot of them do talk, but a lot of them have those kind of hyperfixations or, just particular interests that they're really into. A lot of them are just like outcasts in general. So I think that also could be definitely a game that a lot of NG people resonate with. You?
Wait, were you talking about me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I know this is not necessarily from a game, but I think another character that might be autistic is Ash Ketchum from the Pokemon anime.
I've heard that one a lot. I've gotten that on a lot of my videos. A lot of people suggested that. I haven't really. Fun fact about me: I never played Pokemon growing up. Believe it or not, I have not played a single Pokemon game ever. I had all the Nintendo systems. I mostly played like Mario, Zelda, Metroid, Earthbound, stuff like that.
I haven't played much of the Pokemon games either, but I've watched a lot of the anime.
Interesting. So, what qualities do you think Ash kind of portrays that are autistic coded in particular?
He's always talking about Pokemon, like a huge hyperfixation. Sometimes he's like really hyper on like his interests, and maybe like not really reading the situation.
So by hyper, you mean he's like really antsy or something, or?
I mean like I'm sure in the second episode of the entire anime where he catches his first Pokemon, he's like so happy, like he is like really like, yes, this is my journey to become the #1 Pokemon master.
Gotta catch them all, yeah.
Yeah, and like. And then also not like reading situations right in the best way, while also kind of like being a little confused on certain aspects of life that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I never watched Pokemon, but that's good to know. I'll have to check that out maybe for another video. You?
Me?
Yeah.
I wanted to add something on to like the first question I was asked here, where it was like why a lot of autistic people are into retro gaming, right?
You can.
I'm someone who's autistic myself as well, right? I feel like about 90% of this room probably also is.
Absolutely.
But a big thing that I've seen when it comes to hyperfixations is a lot of times it's usually for things that are complex enough that they can be like studied, but also simple enough that one person can understand everything about them, right? And
Yep.
so when it comes to older video games, a lot of them have been dissected a lot already, and a lot of the times the mechanics can be easily understood by one person on a very deep level. And so I feel like that's one of the main qualities that drive a lot of autistic people to retro gaming in the first place.
I agree. Kind of just like learning all those facts and just the inner workings of like gaming history, especially because it's such a storied thing now. And like a lot of autistic people are drawn, like I myself am drawn to that. I love learning about different facts of like retro gaming or like I said before, film or movies. How many film or TV show fans do we have here?
Yeah.
Did any of y'all go to the last Blockbuster experience? Okay, one person did. Y'all should go if you haven't already. You're missing out. But like the whole history kind of aspect of that, learning different facts about it, I think you're definitely on the money there. Absolutely, that's true. I think it's a big thing that draws them. Any other questions? Yep.
Are there any characters that you think are intended to be portrayed as having autism, but don't portray well?
There are quite a few that I've talked about before, actually. There's a movie that Sia did a few years back called Music. Have any of you heard of that movie? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Then that one's not great. Oh, okay. Well, it sounds like a lot of people did, and that's a pretty poor representation of autism, unfortunately. That one is not great. There's a few others I can think of off the top of my head. Like, who here has seen The Big Bang Theory? I did.
Talking about Leonard.
Oh, no, I was talking about Sheldon Cooper because I've actually done an entire video dedicated to this topic, like comparing Sheldon Cooper, who I personally don't view as a very good autistic rep at all, or autistic good rep, to Abed from Community, who has seen Community.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. That I personally really like Abed a lot because unlike Sheldon, Abed actually learns from his mistakes, and he's like he makes a lot of mistakes in the show, and he is punished for them oftentimes, and he learns from them and he grows from it. That's really important, I think, for any character, and especially an autistic coded character, to make people want to resonate with that more and root for that character. Sheldon Cooper doesn't really do that, so that's the big issue.
Well, I mean, it's a sitcom, and sitcom characters aren't really their character.
They can. I think Abed's a good one, at least. You?
I would add to that for Abed. I think part of it is he is the butt of the joke sometimes, but so is every other main character.
Exactly.
They don't single him out for that, and they don't even single him out for these specific kinds of jokes that are made about him.
Exactly.
The same joke is sometimes made about every other character in a different context.
Exactly. They kind of like what I said before. They're all in like even ground. Like they're all kind of treated as like the same kind of person, and they all make the same kind of mistakes oftentimes. They're all they all learn from it. That's what is important, I think, for just writing in general, but especially writing like an autistic coded character and making people want to resonate with that, especially. Any other questions? Yeah.
Have you had any experience with games where you can create your own character, like say Baldur's Gate or Skyrim, and you found that you could represent that like yourself better?
That I actually have not played. Like I said, I mostly play retro games, so I haven't actually played Baldur's Gate or any of like those newer games where the customization options are really there. The closest I've gotten to that is actually Street Fighter 6 because of all the crazy like customization options you have there. I have actually kind of messed around with that a bit, like giving like my character there like a Sonic shirt or something like that in other games, like that kind of stuff. Sort of representing that hyperfixation more, or that like special interest as an autistic person. So I think that's a great way for like autistic people to be able to express themselves in a video game on its own too. It's a great thing for sure. Yeah?
So I have also
done some VTubing over on Twitch, and for me, I have found using that avatar as like my representation to at least help me feel more comfortable and more like unmasked, oddly enough, even though it is unmasked or whatever. Simply because my own like fears of me maybe not emoting enough physically for people to see, or like feeling judged like that, where it's like, well, this is kind of how I see myself, and just feeling more natural as that like persona of myself. I was curious if that was similar reasoning why you decided to use like an Otter for VTubing versus like yourself.
That is part of it. I think it's sort of like that, almost like subconsciously, because I like otters in general. They're my favorite animal, but in a way they do kind of, I thought about this over the years, they kind of represent me in some ways, like the, creative aspect and how they experiment with tools and stuff, and even just in a weird sort of way, like that part kind of latched onto me. So that's why I do use an Otter VTuber, but also I do like just being a VTuber because I can just like not even get ready for the day if I really wanted to, and just be there on camera, and nobody will they'll tell the difference at all. It's great. And also it does take off a bit of that edge and that anxiety, because they see you, but they don't see like your actual face or anything. Like is that part actually has helped my anxiety a lot with streaming for sure. So if anyone is wanting to get into that, has problems like myself with anxiety, or maybe also is an autistic person, I really do think VTubing is a great way to start getting into that. Absolutely has helped me for sure. Definitely. Yes?
I've noticed Sonic getting mentioned a lot in this panel, and I've noticed a lot of autistic people are like really into Sonic. What do you think is the reason that draws autistic people so much to that franchise?
That's a question I've gotten a lot actually, because I'm a big Sonic fan and I am autistic, but like I think there's a few different things. Like I said before, I think there's actually a few different characters there that are kind of autistic coded, like Tails obviously, but I even argue characters like Silver, and to a lesser degree Sonic have like that autistic coding as well. So I think there's that part. I think it's also kind of what was said earlier, that history aspect and wanting to learn about different facts. Like Sonic is such a long-running franchise at this point that so many different kinds of people have experienced it at one point or another. Like there's the Genesis fans, there's the Dreamcast fans, there's like post-2000s fans now. Like it's been around for so long. So I think that part helps too. Yes, you.
I actually recently watched a video connecting like the reasons why autistic people are drawn towards Sonic.
I saw that one. I think I know the video you're talking about. Yeah.
It was like talking about like characters. You can give off their personality very quickly just on how they look, and they can like music is very stimming, the places are very stimming, and also like basically how the games are built, where like repetition through the levels gets you a better gamer, and that's how Sonic games are made, and that's repetition, and is just really and knowing what's happening, that is really like nice to autistic people, especially myself.
Absolutely, I agree with you there too.
Also,
go ahead.
But yeah, I was gonna say that like I think it's also because like Sonic and his like friends present themselves as really cool, but in a way that just isn't intimidating to people with autism.
Absolutely, it's kind of like, it's more soothing almost, kind of like he said. It's like a lot of repetition, and like as an autistic person, I really like repetition, and it is soothing to me. So like that part is great, and the music is usually really like, it can be like hype as well, but it can just be really chill, like Green Hill Zone or like Ocean Palace, and like just really like nice music.
Shunan Nights.
Absolutely, some of the best like music in gaming history. Honestly, it's just good stuff, very consistent. Huh? That's a good one too. Did you have a question over there, or?
Yeah. So all of the examples of like autism represented in the media that we've put forward have all been males with autism. Did you do a video or anything on other identities?
I have actually touched on that a bit, because I think it's really important for like female representation to be out there too, because it's really hard to diagnose. I mean, it's gotten better, I think, but it's
different stereotypes and stuff.
Yeah.
Is it Lisa Simpson diagnosed by the audience as possibly autistic?
I haven't heard that one, but I've
heard it.
Interesting. I'll have to look that up and thank you. I've talked about, on one of my videos, my recent ones, I talked about Twyla from Monster High, which I've never seen that show until recently when researching that video. But apparently, she's actually confirmed in the show to be autistic. And that is, a show aimed at young girls, which is great because they have that representation there for them. Because especially with females, from what I've gathered from my autistic friends of mine that are female, it's really hard still to diagnose properly with that because there's so many different variables just from the get-go. So I really hope we see more representation for females in the future because that's one of the only ones I've really seen is like Twilight from Monster High. I forget. There's only a few I've been able to talk about on my channel too because there's just not enough. I think back there.
Yeah, going off of that, and I actually know a cartoon character who's a girl who has autism. Her name's June Chen from the Ghost of Molly McGee.
Oh, yeah.
I have actually talked about her on my channel. That's one of the only other ones I've been able to talk about mostly.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, I was really surprised. Honestly, Disney Channel has had a lot of good ones overall. Like June, like you mentioned, Amphibia has a good one too with Marcy. Is that her name on that show?
Yes.
Yes, she's a really good one. Like I hadn't ever seen Amphibia until recently as well while researching for that video. But
I love Amphibia.
it's a good show. Yeah, she's one of the best too, and they. With June, at least on Molly McGee, they actually say she's autistic, which is great because again, that's getting it out to more kids at a young age, and they kind of get to understand it more.
I think the only time Disney really failed at autism was in the Proud Family, Loud and Proud of when they did that episode on autism because it ended with, they have superpowers.
Oh no, I didn't see that one, but that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and
then.
also the parents being really iffy, finding out that one of their kids might be on the spectrum.
That's unfortunate then. That's sad. Were you gonna say something?
I'm just gonna leave this here. Seuss from Gravity Falls.
I really like Seuss.
I agree.
I think Mabel honestly is an autistic coded character too. I've talked about her on the channel because of that, because I really see a lot of that in her. Just how she's just totally unafraid to be herself, just with all the glitter and kittens and stuff and waddles. It's great. Absolutely.
Sweater Town.
Yeah, for sure.
There's also non-autistic but ADHD Luce from Owl House.
Yes.
Interesting.
Who is it? Gus is autistic coded. So it's kind of has that dual dynamic. But they also have an episode with, I forget her name, V, I think it is. She is a shapeshifter. And she acts neurotypical. So when Luce comes back and thinks that she's going to get bullied, she actually makes friends really easily and has been living her life very easily compared to Luce. And so there's a great episode kind of representing that challenge and those struggles that ADHD and autistic people face when it comes to interpersonal relationships. But her mom figures out really quickly it's not Luce because Luce is acting so different. And that was really touching.
I've never seen the Owl House either. But
You should!
There's so many Disney Channel's shows I need to watch. I'm sorry, but yeah, that one I've heard is good. I'll definitely. I didn't even realize they had an ADHD rep. That's awesome. I talked about in one of my other videos, Bluey has a really good ADHD rep because of Jack Russell.
Yeah.
And again, that's a great show just for kids overall because it has a ton of different stuff for them to glean from. So I'm really glad that's a thing too. Did someone? Oh, yeah. Any other questions at all? Any comments? Yes.
Do you think there are any newer, more modern games that anybody would latch onto? Anything that seems possible?
That's a tougher one because especially with more autism awareness being put out now, I think there is a better chance for that to kind of bleed into games now, which is great. Even modern games. But only ones I can think of, which isn't that recent. One is To the Moon, which has an explicitly autistic, character in it. But that came out a long time ago at this point. I do think games are getting better at talking about mental health in general. What's that one? There's this one recent game that has a female character with who has a lot of PTSD or something. Does anyone know the name of that game? I've seen it. It came out like last 5 years or something, more recent, I think.
Hellblade?
Huh?
Hellblade?
Yes, that one. That one. I've heard that one is good for that. I have not played it myself.
That was schizophrenia.
Okay.
Yeah, that's schizophrenia.
So yeah, like there's still sort of that mental health angle though with her like, you know, like visions and stuff that she deals with. And I've heard that one tackles it very tactfully. I have not played it myself, so I can't say.
It's
worth
really
it.
good.
Okay. I imagine so, and because especially there's more awareness on mental health now, and sort of how to tackle that. I think one older game that was really good about tackling that was actually American Baby's Alice. Who's played that?
So
There we go. Okay, that was one of the best ones, especially back then, in like the year 2000. There weren't that many games talking about that. Or I don't think there were really any games talking about that to that degree anyway. So American Baby's Alice is really unique for doing that. And showing in just such a raw, like, visceral way. It's really good and really gripping, too, with how Alice kind of comes to terms with her mind and sort of just, overcomes her past trauma. It's great, for sure. One of the best. And I think the sequel, was it Alice Madness Returns? That one's good, too. Kind of underrated. It tackles a different angle of mental health. I've talked about those games on my channel before. I like that one for tackling a different angle on trauma in particular too. Yes?
Yeah, talking like mental health stuff in general, the recent God of War continuation, it's pretty much like the overarching theme there is like the PTSD element.
Interesting.
And the aftermath of sort of the like toxic masculinity, lying violence of the original God of War games, and the effects that's had on Kratos, the main character.
Interesting, because I have not played the new God of Wars. I actually played a lot of the original ones on PS2 and the third one on PS3 when that came out, but I haven't played the new ones.
Yeah, it's very much like it's got all the over the top stuff, but the character through line is sort of taking a serious look back at the original ones, and then what would that actually do to a person, and how would that affect him over time?
That's interesting. I really like that. I'll have to try those at some point then. Yes?
I didn't hear what the name of the newer game was.
Hellblade, the newer mental health game.
Hellblade.
Yeah. It deals with schizophrenia. I have not played it myself, like I said, but I have heard that it's good. So maybe I'll play it down the road then.
Doe must play it.
For Hellblade, I guess, I don't know, the content warning or how you want to say it, but there is a mode where you have headphones on, and I was told that it can be very disturbing because it will start playing random voices through the headphones.
Okay, yeah. So I stream with headphones on, obviously, so there's that.
I guess that would be the extreme mode, yeah.
Okay. I've also actually been going through Persona 5 for the first time on stream. That game has been really, really cool to see how much they just don't hold back on that. A lot of like that trauma and a lot of mental health related stuff overall, because I've never actually played a Persona game until playing that one on stream. And I've been really impressed with a lot of the stuff they tap into. We're only on like Palace 2, so we're not that far in, but so far I really like what I see.
Yeah, I was gonna mention like games that focus a lot on mental health stuff, but Psychonauts 2,
Yes.
Mhm.
that one's really well done. I think it's one of those themes.
Absolutely. I think Psychonauts, I think both of them are really good. The second one especially. But
The first one had some issues, but
yeah, a little bit, yeah. It's a little dated now. But the second one definitely improves on that, I think, for sure. Somebody want to say something over there? Or, oh, okay. I guess we're good then.
Hate to be a bit of a bummer, but the panel time has about like a minute left.
Okay, perfect. Let me get a picture with y'all first then. Let's see here. Everybody say autism awareness.
Autism awareness!
There we go. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and here are a few more videos for you to check out.